In 1907, within the innovation-driven confines of industry, J. Bruce Ismay, head of the White Star Line, and Lord Peary, chairman of Harland and Wolff, envisioned a groundbreaking project. Their aim was to outclass the Cunard Line's Lusitania and Mauretania not in speed, but in unmatched luxury and safety, thus transforming the Atlantic crossing experience. Their secret deliberations led to the bold plan to build 3 enormous ships, Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic, each embodying their ambitious vision. Construction for the Olympic and Titanic started in 1908 and 1909 under the vast Errol gantry, designed to support their significant scale. These ships, at 886 feet long and over 45,000 gross tonnage, were among the largest of their time, promising a smooth and rapid transatlantic voyage despite their 22-knot speed. They were seen as floating palaces, symbols of human achievement, as the world watched their rise from the keel with awe. Post the Titanic disaster, rumors suggested renaming the Britannic to avoid negative associations, though no official plans were confirmed. The Britannic, whose construction was delayed due to enhancements from Titanic's lessons, was eventually launched on February 26, 1914, amid growing global tensions. With the onset of World War I in August 1914, these magnificent liners were adapted for military use, a transition from symbols of industrial success to essential tools for wartime survival, reflecting the dramatic shifts occurring globally. On December 12, 1915, in Liverpool, the grand vessel Britannic was declared ready, poised to begin its solemn wartime mission. Adorned with a comprehensive medical team, including 101 nurses and 388 officers, complemented by a formidable crew of 675, the Britannic bristled with a palpable sense of duty as it prepared to traverse the seas. A mere 11 days later, on December 23rd, the ship set sail for Mudros on the island of Lemnos in the Aegean Sea, its decks laden with the solemn purpose of retrieving the sick and wounded from the front lines. The Britannic was not alone in its noble pursuits. It was part of a venerable fleet that included the Mauretania, Aquitania, and its sister ship, the Olympic, later joined by the Statendom. This flotilla of mercy made a critical stop in Naples to replenish coal supplies before continuing their journey to Mudros. Upon completing its mission, the Britannic served as a floating hospital near the Isle of Wight for 4 weeks, offering a temporary sanctuary to those it had retrieved. From March 20th to April 4th, 1916, the Britannic embarked on its 3rd voyage, a journey marked by quiet courage and a prevailing sense of melancholy. Following the retreat from the Dardanelles in January, each voyage added a new chapter to the ship's storied existence. When its military service concluded on June 6, 1916, the Britannic returned to Belfast with plans to transform it into a grand transatlantic passenger liner, a project underscored by a significant payment of £75,000 sterling from the British government, reflecting the magnitude of the transformation. However, the demands of ongoing conflict necessitated the ship's return to military service. On November 12, 1916, the Britannic commenced its 6th Mediterranean voyage from Southampton to Lemnos, navigating through the Strait of Gibraltar at midnight on November 15th and stocking up in Naples by November 17th. The ship was briefly delayed by a storm, but resumed its journey on November 20th under the command of Captain Charles Bartlett. The following morning, as it navigated the Key Channel, disaster struck. At 8:12 a.m. on November 21st, an underwater mine detonated near the Britannic, planted by the German submarine SMU-73. The explosion unleashed chaos on board. Some thought they had collided with another vessel due to the less severe impact at the stern. Captain Bartlett and Chief Officer Hume, realizing the gravity of the situation, swiftly closed watertight doors and issued a distress signal. Unfortunately, the explosion had severed antenna cables, crippling their ability to receive responses. Despite the Britannic's robust design, which allowed it to stay afloat with several compartments flooded, overlooked open portholes on the lower decks began admitting seawater, exacerbating the flooding. Efforts by Captain Bartlett to beach the vessel on quay were hampered by the ship's increasing list and compromised steering. As the situation deteriorated, desperate evacuation efforts commenced. While the crew and medical staff prepared lifeboats, 2 were tragically drawn into the still spinning propellers, resulting in 30 fatalities. Captain Bartlett halted the engines just in time to avert further disaster, marking a grievous yet heroic chapter in the Britannic's distinguished service. By 8:50 a.m., the majority of the passengers and crew had taken refuge in the 35 lifeboats that had been successfully launched. Captain Bartlett, in a final desperate bid to save the ship, attempted to beach the Britannic but was forced to cease engine operations at 9 a.m. as the vessel succumbed rapidly to the waters. He and the deputy commander, undeterred, plunged into the sea and swam towards a lifeboat. from which they continued to oversee the rescue operations. Tragically, the Britannic succumbed to the depths at 9:07 a.m., a mere 55 minutes post-explosion. It thus became the largest ship to be lost during World War I and the most sizable passenger shipwreck in history. Violet Jessup, a survivor of both the Titanic and a previous incident with the Olympic, captured the harrowing final moments as the ship made its ultimate descent. The rescue efforts that followed were markedly more successful than those of the Titanic, facilitated by warmer waters, an abundance of lifeboats, and swifter aid from nearby ships. Local fishermen from Key were the first responders, soon assisted by HMS Scourge and HMS Heroic, which together rescued hundreds. Some survivors made their way to the island of Key, where they received aid from the remaining medical staff. Out of the 1,066 people on board, 1,036 were rescued, showing the effectiveness of the swift rescue operations and the sufficient number of lifeboats available. Years later, in 2006, a British researcher named Mikhail Michailakis discovered an unmarked grave on the island of Syros, believed to belong to one of the victims from the Britannic. This led to further research and eventually the proper recognition and remembrance of the deceased serviceman. Deep in the Aegean Sea, at the coordinates 37 degrees 42 minutes 5 seconds north, 24 degrees 17 minutes 2 seconds east, the haunting remains of the Britannic lie about 400 feet underwater. The shipwreck was first revealed to the public on December 3, 1975 by the famous explorer Jacques Cousteau. Cousteau not only mapped the ship, but also shared moving stories from those who survived the disaster.
And we were just served with our porridge, and suddenly there was a big bump.
Linking the silent underwater world with the voices of history. The mystery of the Britannic grew after Cousteau's 1976 exploration suggested a violent end for the ship, possibly from a torpedo attack, judging by the heavy damage found. This theory has attracted divers from around the world, eager to uncover the truth of this underwater enigma themselves. Today, the wreck is like a scene frozen in time. The starboard side, where the catastrophe struck, is hidden under a large tear in the bow deck. The bow itself is badly damaged and barely holds on to the rest of the ship, with the crew's quarters inside still hauntingly intact. These quiet rooms give divers a brief look into the desperate last moments of the ship. The cargo holds are empty, enhancing the eerie feeling as divers move through their vast emptiness. Guarding the deep, the ship's machinery and two colossal cranes on the bow deck stand as silent sentinels of the abyss. Nearby, the foremast, bent and broken, rests on the seabed, its crow's nest still clinging on. In a remarkable discovery during a 2019 dive, the ship's bell, once thought lost to the sea, was found near this ghostly lookout. Venturing into the Britannic is akin to stepping into another realm, a realm of muted tales and haunting vistas. When Dr. Robert Ballard, famed for his discovery of the Titanic, visited in 1995 with advanced sonar, he left some secrets of the Britannic still veiled in mystery. In 1996, Simon Mills, a noted historian of the Britannic, acquired the wreck, adding layers of intrigue and inviting further exploratory quests. Subsequent expeditions have delved deeper, armed with cutting-edge technology and daring spirit, documenting their passages through historic corridors and past scattered relics, including the remarkably intact smokestacks and fragments of coal that once fueled the vessel. These expeditions have morphed into narratives of both adventure and peril. In 2003, Carl Spencer's expedition pushed the limits of underwater exploration using rebreathers, discovering that some watertight doors, intended to safeguard against flooding, were inexplicably open, a clue potentially unraveling why the Britannic succumbed so swiftly after striking a mine. The Britannic's mystique was further cemented by a 2006 expedition that broadcast chilling visions of this submerged colossus to viewers worldwide. Yet, the perils of such deep-sea exploration were underscored tragically in 2009 with the death of Carl Spencer during a dive, a stark reminder of the risks inherent in unveiling the Britannic's secrets. For those drawn to the thrill of discovery and the mysteries of the deep, the Britannic offers an unparalleled dive experience. It is more than a mere dive. It is an immersion into history, an intimate encounter with a relic shrouded in enigma. This wreck calls out to adventurers and historians alike, guarding its stories in the profound azure quiet of the sea. So, what truly caused the Britannic to sink?